Have you ever wondered why game controllers are so weird? Just like sensors that are positioned in my fingers that serves as your typical mouse clicks buttons, a sys-axis motion tracking device that I use for controlling the mouse movement, some infrared distance sensors that... You know what? Let's make everything again. Hi, I'm Yanel, and I make projects on this channel. Last month, I decided to make a video about a game controller that I built using some sensors and an IMU. But soon after finishing that video, I realized that it was pretty crappy, so I thought about upgrading it a bit. But first, I want to talk about things that didn't work on my last project. In the previous version of this thing, I used an MPU 6050 to track my hand movement. This is basically an accelerometer and a gyroscope put together. With this, you can measure a lot of different things like acceleration, velocity, orientation, and other stuff that sounds pretty useful to use on a project. In reality, it is pretty useful, and it's really fun to play with it. But it also gave me some problems, and I do not have the patience to solve those problems. The first problem is that the yaw angle has a little bit of drift, which means that the resting position of my hand changes over time. So if I start with my hand here, a couple of minutes later the resting position will be here, which is fucking annoying. From what I've read, I could solve that problem by using a magnetometer, but I don't have one at the moment, and the closest electronic store is 800 kilometers away from me. That's almost 8,749 football fields to my American fellas. The second problem is that for some reason when the MPU interacts with other sensors, it goes crazy and it starts giving me a ton of fail readings. I do not know why that happens, and I couldn't find anything on a quick Google search, so I'm planning to discard the IMU today and use another form of motion tracking. I thought about using computer vision to help me with this thing, but there was one problem. 2 weeks ago when I thought about this idea, I didn't know shit about computer vision, so I've been spending these past weeks trying to learn about that. Here's how the controller should work once everything is finished. A simple application will be responsible for the tracking part. The app will accomplish this with the help of OpenCV, which is the open source computer vision library that I'm using to process the images for my webcam. Actually, I'm using mGooseV, which is the .NET wrapper, but that's not important. I will apply some basic image processing techniques to make sure that it can detect the object that I want. That will be the target object. I have not decided yet what the target object will be, but it should not be that hard to find something. Then the application will send the coordinates of the target to an Arduino using serial communication. The Arduino script will process the information that has been sent by the app, and it will also listen to any other input that I have. Based on that data, the Arduino will perform keystrokes, mouse clicks, or mouse movement to control my PC. I must confess something. I've already gotten ahead and made a simple prototype of what I want, just to make sure that it will probably work and I won't be wasting my time making this video. At this point, everything works by parts. Here's what I have. I wrote two simple Arduino scripts, one that reads serial data and processes it, and another one that reads some input and then sends keystrokes to my PC. I also have this Windows Form application which uses mGooseV to process the images from my webcam and sends information to my Arduino. So in theory, I could use this to track something and then map that into mouse movement using the Arduino. I haven't put the code together, so I still have to do that and build everything today. I hope. You probably have an idea of how this will end up looking, but I don't, because I still have to build the shit. I just hope it won't be that stupid. Anyway, without further ado, let's build this shit. I'm gonna start with the left hand part. Last time, I used the MPU to control the mouse movement with my left hand, which was pretty weird considering that I always use the mouse with my right hand. So now I'm planning to have some input keys here. I would love to use a globe and some weird switches here instead of sensors because I don't really need that extra garbage data, I just need to know if the key is pressed or not. Anyway, I lost the left globe I was planning to use, and the ones I have are really uncomfortable to wear. Using these ones would make the gaming experience fucking awful and not in a good way, so I think I have a different idea. I'm gonna use these small mouse switches to make something. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, that wasn't how shit I forgot the montage. You might know something called 3D printers. Well, I have a big problem with those things. And my problem is that I don't have anything like that. so I have to make everything like a fucking Neanderthal. Man, I would love to have a 3D printer. Okay, that may not feel like 4 hours. Don't ask me why. Oh, what's this garbage piece of plastic that I have in my hands, you ask? Well, it's a garbage piece of plastic, of course. But leaving its horrendous appearance beside, this is a binary controller. I don't think that's the right term because most controllers are binary, considering that they are digital, but I don't care. I'll explain what I mean. Or even better, I'll demonstrate it. If you look at the inputs, you can see that if I press the first button, oh, I get a 1. Now if I press the second button, oh, I get a 2. But now if I press the third one, oh, what's that? Is that a 4? How weird this is. Were you expecting a 3? Well, that won't happen, because this is fucking cringe. Why am I doing this? Binary numbers follow mostly the same rules as the often used decimal numbers. But instead of being in base 10 system, they are in a base 2 system. This means that you only need 2 states to represent quantities, and each digit to the left is 2 times greater than the previous digit. Why is this useful? Well, thanks to the invention of something called transistors, digital electronics are just a bunch of circuits turning on and off at ridiculously high speeds. Normally 1 means on and 0 means off. Of course, I'm oversimplifying a lot of things, so please don't get mad at me. I'm not an educational channel, I just upload my random projects to the internet. But I needed to explain this part to proceed. Going back to this thing, if I had 5 switches, I could only press 5 different keys. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But with my binary controller, I would be able to press 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. 31 different keys. It looks like I'm doing some weird Naruto shit here, but in reality, it's not. I'm just trying to count in binary. An extended finger means 1 and the other way around means 0. Sadly, I don't have 5 switches here, because I'm lazy. I just have 3 switches. That means that I will only be able to type 7 different keys. Which is still better than 3, so it's worth it. You probably are wondering, why did I turn the inputs into binary? Isn't that the same as using different combinations of switches to press different keys, which involves a lot of cases and makes the algorithm a little less fancy? Well, not exactly. I've heard that people on the internet usually don't enjoy when you show the code, and I'm about to do that, so here's the timestamp if you want to skip this part, but please don't skip this part because I used a really neat trick and I really want to share it. Of course I could go full Yandere dev and do a shit ton of if-else statements to check the correct combinations, but the Arduino has a better way of doing this. Port registers. You can check the state of the inputs by using these registers. This is faster than using the digital read function, and the best part is that it already is in binary, so you just have to apply a couple of binary operations, mostly negation and bitwise, and you will have your inputs in binary. Then you can use that number to represent a character and done. Without doing a ton of if-else statements. I will just have to change the key bindings of my games before playing. I just realized that I'm really bad at math because I wanted to use this for movement, and that's normally 8 directions. But with this thing, I can only have 7 different keys. Well, time for you to go, backward left movement. You were my least favorite direction. Now it's time for the tracking part. Originally, I wanted to use face tracking for this, but that has 2 major problems. One, that sounds pretty uncomfortable unless the code is well written and I'm not good at writing code. And 2, I'm not sure if you've noticed this, but I don't have a face. Here I have a simple application which is written in C#. I use C# because Python didn't want to recognize my camera for some reason. All this application does is apply a little bit of image processing to my webcam's video. I can play with the hue, saturation and value, whatever those things are, and make a real-time color mask to detect different colors. Then I can smash my key rabbit and draw the contour of the object and also show the center coordinates of the bounding box and send them to the Arduino. This is not object detection per se. It's just color detection, as this will not work well with 2 things with the same color on the screen. But this is really simple to make, and it gets the job done pretty well, so I'm gonna use it. Also, I think that this is how the PS Smooth worked, because of the glowy things on the top. Don't quote me on that, so if anyone in the comments knows, please let me know. I just have one problem now. As you can see, if the object has a not so symmetrical shape, the bounding box coordinates are sometimes not what I would like them to be. So I have to find something more symmetrical. Something with a good color contrast. Something really... I'm gonna use an orange. I'm sure you've heard about face tracking before, but what about fruit tracking? Haha, okay, now that I have my clickbaity thumbnail, I can proceed. If I start my application and open the serial port, these LEDs will change according to the position of the orange. These two represent horizontal axis and these two represent the vertical axis. As you can see, it works, and it works pretty well. And you might be thinking that this is a stupid way of turning 4 LEDs on. That might be true, but the underlying process beneath this is the base for many other cool applications that you can make. Like these ones.
These points are square, but look.
Anyway, everything seems to work fine, so I only have to assemble all this shit and merge the two Arduino scripts into one. So... here it is. It took me a couple of days. I was really busy with my job. I wanted to put everything together with duct tape, but that looked fucking horrible, and someone suggested me to use a thread and a needle, so I just sewed how do you pronounce this?
Sewed.
I just
Sewed.
everything to the globe. I wasn't planning to use the flex sensors for the mouse clicks, but they were already wired to this PCB, so I used them anyway. Everything should work now, let's see. I just have to plug the Arduino, upload the sketch, and start the application. Okay, so now it's time to test this fucking piece of shit. I had to switch angles because the camera wasn't detecting the orange properly because of my lights. I know the illumination is fucking horrible right now, but I didn't have any choice. I hope you don't mind. I know you do mind, but I don't care. So let's see. I will put the globe on. Okay, so now let's see. Yeah, the left hand controller works. I can type with this shit. So this is an A, this is a B, this is a D, because the C is this one, because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's actually working pretty fine. Now let's see if I can move the mouse with the orange. I almost forgot to start recording the screen. Turns out, I did forget to start recording the screen. And unfortunately for you, I solved all the problems I had, so now everything seems to work fine. What you're watching is the world's first orange mouse. Is this something I should be proud of? I don't think so. Let me know in the comments what you think. Here you can see that I can control the mouse and the clicks with this thing. Before playing some games, I'll need to adjust the sensitivity of the X and Y axis, so I'll see you in a couple of seconds. I wasn't really sure what game to play with this thing, but I wanted to play some first-person game, so I asked my friend Tommy if he wanted to play Portal with me and test my weird controller. And he said yes.
¿Qué ventajas tiene eso versus un mouse?
Tengo una naranja, Tommy. ¿Qué preguntas así? Y...
Anyway, as we were about to play the game, this happened.
¿Por qué no funciona?
Te estamos viendo, pero como... muy lento.
¿De verdad?
Mira, voy a poner...
The LED controller wasn't working, so I spent 1 hour trying to figure out why. Turns out, I was always releasing the keys after I pressed them. That's why I was moving so little. Sadly, my friend Tommy was really tired, so he went to sleep. And so did I after I had solved the problem. The following day, I asked my friend Joaco to play League of Legends with me. And my camera decided to stop working that day. And no, it wasn't dirty. Lucky for me, I thought that using an orange could become stupid at some point, so I added this white thing from a PS Move controller and my camera was able to detect it much better. I'm gonna be honest here, playing League of Legends with this thing sucked. But when does playing League of Legends doesn't suck?
Ay, pero weón, esta weá funcionaba súper bien ayer. Ya, vamos con el...
We decided to test it with Portal 2. And this time, I was moving properly. The detection was working pretty fine, and honestly, it was very fun to play with this thing. The only problem I had was
Buena.
this.
Ay, me duele el brazo. De verdad me duele el brazo.
Yeah, after using it for a long time, it becomes really uncomfortable.
Ay, buen punto.
But it worked, and I'm very happy with it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Everything from learning what I needed to programming the app, building the globe, and editing the video took me around 5 weeks to make. So if you made it this far, Thank you very much, I really appreciate it. You can still help me with commenting, subscribing, liking this video, or those things that people on the internet do, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. I'm Lionel, and I like to build things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. See ya!
Ay, 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 ay. No lo hagas, no hagas tonteras.
Estoy pensando